Hello and welcome to Mindful Living, where we explore the art of living with the intention, balance, and inner peace. I am Avik, your host, guiding you through conversations on health, meditation, mental well being, mindfulness, and the mind body connection. Each episode features expert insights to help you grow, heal, and thrive. So, take a deep breath, relax, and join us on this journey to a more mindful and fulfilling life. So, let's get started.
Hello and welcome, listeners, to another episode of the Mindful Living podcast. Today, we have an extraordinary guest joining us, Martin Salama, known as the architect of the Worrier's LIFE Life Code. Martin specializes in helping people transform their lives, shifting from a place of worry and frustration to uncovering their true potential and living with joy. His powerful coaching program, the Worrier's LIFE Code, is built on the principles of living fully every day. And he's here on the Mindful Living to talk about his inspiring journey and his latest book, Worrier to Worrier. This is a conversation, listeners, you don't want to miss. So, Martin, welcome to the show, and it's an absolute pleasure having you today with us.
Thank you, Rima. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Martin, can you share with our listeners the journey that led you to create the Worrier's LIFE Code and write your book, Worrier to Worrier?
Sure, absolutely. So, just as we get started, let's just tell them what LIFE stands for. Life stands for live incredibly full every day. And I'd like to say I was like that every day when I woke up in my life, but I wasn't. And it took me going through some major ups and downs in my life to get to the point where I needed to do a little introspection, understand who I was. And I'll get to how I came up with live incredibly full every day as I talk a little bit. But it's just, I want to make it clear to everybody, it's not something I've always lived by, Rima. It's something I developed over the years.
Awesome.
All right. So in 2008, my wife and I were working on a project to build a multi-million-dollar health club and tennis center in New Jersey by what's known as the Jersey Shore.
Yeah.
And it took us 5 years to get to that point that we were ready to start building. And that was because, all that time we were looking for the right place to put it. Then we were looking to make sure that it was a good thing to build over there and finding investors and getting an architect and engineer and all that. And all along the way, we were talking to the bank about funding when we were ready. And they were like, yeah, this is a great project. And in the early 2000s, 2004, 5, 6, 7, getting money from the bank was easy. They were lending money like crazy.
Yeah.
So do you remember that time?
Yes. And it led to 2008 crash.
Yeah. Well, that's what happened. In 2008, we finally got all of the approvals from the city and the state that we needed. So we go to the bank and we tell them, okay, we're ready to start building now. And they're like, well, we're not really lending right now. Things are slowing down. I'm like, what are you talking about? I have over $3.5 million into this project. And you told me all along, when we're ready, we're going to be here for you. Well, things have changed. A month later, the financial crash happened. Yeah. Bernie Madoff, subprime loans, the whole financial world was turned upside down.
Yes.
Yeah, and so was I. And just like that, at the drop of a hat, I lost everything. And I was, to say depressed would be an understatement. I was so depressed that I was going to therapy and I was on medication because that's how depressed I was. And it took me about a year to get out of this depression and for me to recognize that I really didn't need the medication. It was situational depression, what I was going through. Because at the time, this was in 2008, right?
Yeah.
I lost everything. I stopped paying my mortgage. I stopped paying my car payments. Eventually, one day, my son says, Dad, look outside. They were towing away my car. It was being repossessed. And eventually, the house was foreclosed on. But because there were so many foreclosures in New Jersey, it took them a long time before they finally actually moved on the foreclosure.
Mm-hmm.
So here I am. It's about a year later. I'm like, okay, I've been a businessman my entire life.
Mm-hmm.
What do I want to do now? Maybe I want to change what I'm doing. And I thought about it. I thought about what I'd gone through over the last year and
Mm-hmm.
what I'd been happy doing over my life. And I realized I was always involved in community events and I was always a leader. And as a leader, people would come into the organizations, into the community fundraising, all good community events.
Mm-hmm.
And they would say, but Martin, I can't do what you do. I'm like, but I don't want you to do what I do. I want you to do what you're good at.
Mm-hmm.
And we would talk a little bit and I would draw out of them what their potential was and what they think they can give to the organization.
Mm-hmm.
Looking back, I can realize that was like the foundation for me to start understanding that I was being a coach. I was coaching them into what they were good at and being their supporter and cheerleader and accountability partner and all those things.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, oh, I've been coached before. Let me look into that. And I decided to become a coach.
Mm-hmm.
So a few months before coaching was starting, it was my 24th wedding anniversary.
Uh-huh.
And my wife said to me, I want a divorce.
Oh.
I'm like, oh my God. Just as I'm starting to get back on my feet, something else happens to me. I feel like everything is happening to me. And I was depressed. I was angry. I felt abandoned and all these things. But I decided I already made the decision to go forward with life coach training. I'm going to still go. And that was a fantastic decision I made because that first weekend really started to shift my mindset. And what happened is because I was so down, I was open to the opportunities that coaching was going to offer me. And I went that first weekend. They go, before you can coach anybody, you have to be in the right mindset for yourself.
Absolutely.
And you don't have to be who you think you have to be. You could be whoever you want to be. I was like, wow, nobody ever told me that before. My whole life, everybody's telling me you're going to do this and you're going to do that. So it was a big change for me, Rima. Can you imagine?
Of course, coupled with the financial crisis and then a huge personal life crisis, it must be really very hard. But shout out to you that you shifted your mindset and you got back on your feet. That's really, really commendable. Really commendable.
Thank you. Thank you so much. But my mindset, I'd like to say it shifted overnight, but it didn't, my mindset. It took me a while. It took me understanding who I was, what was serving me and what wasn't serving me, what were some of my default tendencies.
Yeah.
And what I came to learn, and one of the things that helped me was right before I started the coach training, they sent the list of books to read. And they said, pick a couple of these books and read them. And one was a book called The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz.
Uh-huh.
You know that book?
No.
Oh, it's a fantastic book. Anyway, he has 4 agreements he says you should live by. And they are as follows. Always do your best. Don't take anything personally. Don't make any assumptions and be impeccable with your words. And when I saw that second one, don't take anything personally, I felt like he was telling me a secret that people had been telling me my whole life. But until that moment, I wasn't ready to hear it. So it opened my mind saying, you mean I don't have to be responsible for everybody else? I don't have to take what somebody says and be upset about it? So that was the start. And then I went to the weekend and I started to take these things in. And I started to realize some of the things that I was doing. I was a people pleaser. Most people pleaser will never admit that they're a people pleaser because they think they're doing something great. They think they're trying to make everybody happy.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I was a people pleaser. I was a control freak. I had to make sure that everything was done exactly as I thought it should be. I wanted the attention when I was doing something. I wanted everybody to say, wow, Martin, what a great job you're doing. And when all those things weren't happening, I had a very short temper and I would lose it very easily. I would explode like a reactor, like a nuclear reactor.
I think that's the kind of A-type personality.
Yep. Exactly. So now that I understood these, I had to shift my mindset from I take everything personally, I have to please everybody, to I have to make sure that what somebody says is not necessarily about me. It's probably about what's going on in their life and they're projecting it on me. Right? And I also have to recognize that when they say something, they're not necessarily looking to get into a confrontation. Maybe they just want to have a conversation. But I was so used to being into confrontation mode that I thought every conversation was a confrontation. So going to this training started to lift that fog, lift the burden off my shoulders, because I was allowing myself to be open to change. Part of it was, I'm sorry, go ahead.
You unlearned yourself and then started.
I unlearned myself, exactly. And part of it was something I call in my book, it's 3 steps that you go through: admission, cleansing, and celebration. So the admission part is admitting what I was doing before wasn't working and I needed to change. So this was giving me the permission to do that.
That sounds really good.
Yeah.
And in your book, you talk about transforming from worrier to warrior.
Right.
You define from where did it come and how do you define the mindset shift needed to make that transformation? Because as you rightly said, it was a journey. It didn't happen within a single night.
Right, exactly. Exactly. So here I am. I'm a few years into getting divorced, moving out of the house, starting my life again, doing my coaching. And I was doing things that I hadn't done in a long time. I was exercising, I was eating right, I was reading the right books, and I'm ADHD. So could you imagine I was even meditating?
Wow.
Right? It's a little tough for an ADHD guy to meditate.
Yes.
But one day when I was doing the meditation, I had this download of information that I was loving my life, and I wanted to show other people how to do that too. So after my meditation, which was about 10 minutes long, guided, with the app, I wrote down for about 2 hours what it was I wanted to coach people. And that's where the LIFE acronym, Live Incredibly Full Every Day, came about. And for me, it meant having a happy life and a meaningful life. You could be happy without meaning, and you could have a meaningful life and not be happy. But for it to be incredibly full so that you could live incredibly full every day, I felt it needed to be happy and meaningful. How does that sound?
It sounds really great. Sounds really great. Very profound. It's just
Thank you so much. So yeah, and I started to write up my coaching ideas and started teaching my clients how to go through it this way. And it came about to the point where I was doing so well with it, and then all of a sudden, by the way, in this time frame, I moved myself out of my mindset and I changed who I was, and I started dating because I was divorced. And I would go out on dates, and I understood now what a value was, because I learned that through coaching, what a real value was. And I realized that in my first marriage, my wife and I, our mindsets were completely different. Our values were different. Yeah. And we were very codependent, and maybe we never should have been married. But looking back now, we had 4 children. We were married for 25 years. And the best gift she ever gave me, other than my 4 children, was to say I want a divorce. Right?
Wow.
Yeah. But now I'm dating, and I'm understanding who I am and what I'm looking for in someone else.
Absolutely.
And I was very, very happy to say that since then, about 6 years ago, I got married again. And I've been married for 6 years. We've been together for 8 years, and it's been unbelievable. And we were married during COVID.
Wow.
Right? When COVID happened. Thank God. I don't know how I would have handled being alone in my house.
Yeah.
We got married 2 years before COVID.
Super.
And as a result, we all hunkered down. We all went back under the roof for a long time.
Yeah.
And one day I told my wife, let's go out. Let's take the kids and let's go out. Let's go to New York City. And I'd look around, and New York City was like empty. Yeah. And I'd never seen this before. Who's used to seeing? Imagine where you live. All of a sudden, you're in a major metropolitan city, and there's nobody out.
It's like
it was great.
Apocalyptic movie.
Yeah, like in the movies. How was it like for you in your city?
It was all, birds were chirping. There were leaves falling on the roof. It was all quiet.
It was so nice and quiet.
You hear the nature sing. That was the most wonderful thing.
Yes, that's true. That's true. So we're out in New York City. We're going to Central Park, and there's
Uh,
nobody in Central Park, and or very few people, I should say. And I turned to my wife and I said, "Why is everybody so worried?" And I said, "I get it, because the last 10, 12 years, I know why I'm not worried, because I went through all these things and I came out stronger. So I understood what they were going through, and I knew how to help them get through it." So I got onto Facebook and I said, "Guys, let me show you how to go from being a worrier to a warrior." And that's where the Warrior to Warrior and the Warrior's Life Code was created.
hmm. Wow, that's really a great story. Two
Thank
major
you.
life events at a global level, personal life shift, and goodness. So, Martin, what were some of the biggest challenges you have seen people face when they are stuck in a warrior mindset? They become anxious, frenzied, and how does your LIFE life code address those?
Yeah. So a lot of times people come to me with this mindset of, is this all there is in the world? Is this all there is for me?
Mhm.
And it's funny because my answer to them is a little surprising. My answer is yes, but it's how you're looking at it. You're looking at it the wrong way.
Hmm.
Instead of waking up in the morning and saying, "Is this all there is?" And I
Mhm.
can't believe I have to go to work, and I can't, complaining, "I can't do this, I can't do that."
Mhm.
Wake up and say, "The world has got a lot open for me, and I'm ready to receive it. And I want to live incredibly full every day. And I get to go to work, and I get to see people, and I get to enjoy the day, and I get to enjoy the people around me, my family, my friends. And how can I look for opportunities instead of looking for problems?"
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. So, one of the things I focus on in my book, after we talk about those first three that I talked about, admission, cleansing, and celebration,
Mhm.
is something I call the cycle of A's.
Mhm.
Okay. And what the cycle of A's is, you can ask the universe, you could ask God, whoever is your greater power, for anything that you want.
Mhm.
That's a little bit of the law of attraction.
Mhm.
But let's take the law of attraction at the way it is. Somebody who is about the law of attraction says, "Oh, if I think about it and I want it, it'll come to me." And when it doesn't, they go, "Oh, the law of attraction doesn't work."
Yeah.
And you know what? They're right, because they're not utilizing the law of attraction correctly. So for me, the law of attraction starts with the first A:
Mhm.
ask. Ask God, ask the universe for what you want. And the ask could be as simple as, I came up with an idea in my head,
Mhm.
right? Oh, I'm gonna start a podcast. Oh, maybe it'll be a good idea to do a podcast. Now, if you do nothing about it,
Mhm.
you've asked for it, but nothing happens. So the next A is act.
Mhm.
What do I have to do what came up in my mind, or I'm asking God for, or I want to make $1 million? What am I going to do to get the $1 million? Am I going to wake up and it's going to be on my front door? No, you've got to act. You've got to do the work to get what you want,
Action.
right?
Yeah.
And then the last A is where it starts to throw people off. And I call it a cycle of A's, because it's like a perpetual motion. Once you start to ask and act, and
Mhm.
bring in the third one, which is have an attitude of, I don't care about the outcome, right? I'm not emotionally tied to what happens. Things will start happening. Because if you're emotionally tied to it, if you feel like, oh, I've got to have this happen for me, you have a mindset of lack. Instead, say, whatever happens is going to happen. And if things aren't going the way I'm supposed to, maybe they're not supposed to go that way. And it's what I'm thinking, and I need to make a course correction. What do
Mhm.
you think of that, Rima?
Yeah, that absolutely makes sense. It's plausible.
Thank you. So it's ask, act, and attitude. And it's a perpetual motion, because once you start to do it and you see the reaction to it,
Mhm.
you see the results, you're then fueled, motivated to go out and do it more, right?
Mhm.
Because
Mhm.
as you're seeing, and what I tell people is, don't just dismiss if something happens that it's a coincidence. It's a one-off, as they say.
Uh-huh.
No, this is the magic starting to happen. It's the cycle starting to happen. Recognize it and build on it.
Hmm.
So that's really where a big part of the switch from the mindset of lack to the mindset of abundance starts to come into play.
Wow. And you emphasize living fully every day.
Right.
How can listeners start incorporating this mindset into their daily lives, especially, coupled with so many globally changing events and also with the advent of AI and people making the frenzy that AI is going to, eat your jobs, destroy everything. How do you
Right.
advise to do that?
Well, I start off every morning the same way. Now, do I call it a ritual? You could call it a ritual. But I wake up every day and I take out a notebook, a nice quality notebook like a moleskin that has some, value to it and some, it has some worth instead of just like a piece of paper. And I write down every morning 3 things I'm grateful for.
Mm-hmm.
It could be as simple as I'm grateful that it's not raining today.
Mm-hmm.
I'm grateful that I slept 6 hours last night or 8 hours or whatever it is.
Right.
I'm grateful that my wife asked me last night if I'd like to have a cup of coffee in the morning, whatever it is, and
True.
write it down.
True.
Then I say, I live incredibly full every day. I pray. I sit down and I pray to God. I'm a religious person, spiritual, and that's a big part of it. Me recognizing that I can't do it all myself. God is part of what I do. Now, that's not for everybody. That's for me. Okay. And then I walk out and I say, what opportunities are waiting for me? Instead of saying, what problems am I going to come face to face with today?
Mm-hmm.
And even the problems that come up, I say, how can I turn them into opportunities?
Exactly. Exactly.
So that's how I would tell people to start. And then I do something else. This one you might find a little funny. I make sure that every day I make somebody laugh. Right? Like that. And then that's not enough. Just making somebody laugh doesn't have any impact. Imagine I'm at the grocery store and I'm on the line with the cashier and I make her laugh. And I say to her, thank you. Thank you for helping me fill my quota to make somebody laugh today. She's like, what? What are you talking about? Yes, it's part of my quota of the day. My things to do is to make somebody laugh. Now I've made a connection with that person.
True.
Right? And then I tell them, why don't you pass it on and make somebody else laugh?
That's a wonderful exercise. It's a sense of gratitude as well as, passing on that feel of goodness, joy.
Exactly right. Because if you just make somebody laugh and you walk away, they're going to forget about it 1 second later.
Yep.
But if you bring it up to them and you say, I did this for a reason, and I wanted to make sure that you felt good in this moment, now it's making an impression on them. And hopefully they can turn that and make that impression on somebody else. It's not about me. It's not about me making an impression on them. It's about me helping them make an impression on themselves that they can turn around and help somebody else.
Right. And can you also tell us about the significance of finding abundance rather than staying in a mindset of lack, especially for entrepreneurs?
Yeah. It's very easy for entrepreneurs to get into that rut of, oh, I've got no sales today. What am I going to do? And to start getting nervous. Okay. But if you say, let me see, who can I reach out with today to make something happen? And how can I give so that I can get? Somebody one time said, I don't have any money to give donations. And then, so a rich person said, if you're saying you don't have money to give out to charity, you haven't given enough away. So it's about recognizing when you give charity, it's not about you. It is about you, but on a different level. It's about you recognizing by giving, you're giving other people a chance to enjoy life and feel that abundance that you want to feel. And if you don't feel it, the best way to do it is to be grateful. And with the gratitude, things start to fall into place. The abundance starts with gratitude, and then it grows from there. And when it starts happening, you also have to recognize that it's happening because you're grateful. So you stay in that perpetual motion of being grateful so that abundance keeps coming.
Absolutely true. And as someone who's been working in this field for over a decade, Martin, what are some key takeaways from your book that you believe can help people live a more abundant and fulfilled life?
Okay, so here's a great one. I talk about this in my book, and I think it really will come home a lot. Lots of times I'll meet with somebody, and we talk about awareness, right? And they go, "Oh, I'm very self-aware." I said, "You may be aware, but I doubt if you're self-aware. You may be self-conscious." They're like, "What? What are you talking about?" And then I tell them the difference between the two. So would it be okay if I shared with you the difference?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, I'm going to read this straight out of my. I actually built a card deck as well. I can get that on my website as well, but I'll read it straight from the card. Self-consciousness comes from a place of negative energy, guilt, conflict, and doubt. Self-consciousness is more outward directed. It's being more concerned about what others are thinking of you and how the situation is going to affect you. You probably react to uncomfortable situations instead of respond. When you're self-conscious, you're questioning your decisions. You're second-guessing yourself, allowing other people's opinions and judgments to sway your own judgment. Self-consciousness comes from a mindset of lack, complaining, and blaming. Now, I look at that as ego-driven and wanting to make others happy and so on. But self-awareness comes from a place of positive energy, acceptance, contentment, self-assuredness. Self-awareness is more inward-facing. You have an accurate and realistic understanding of how you are responding to situations and how you feel about things. Yeah. It enables you to approach interactions and circumstances from a more balanced, richer stance. Self-awareness comes from a mindset of abundance, taking responsibility, and gratitude. I look at it as more about humility than ego.
Yes.
So what do you think of that?
It's beautiful. And the last part, I absolutely loved it. Humility, which is very rare, but it really, acknowledging the efforts, getting grounded, having stick to your roots. I think that's the biggest, component of being self-aware.
Right. So after they hear this, people are like, whoa, all this time I thought I was self-aware.
Yeah.
I was really self-conscious.
Yeah.
And it starts that mindset shift. If I can get to the place where I'm more self-aware than self-conscious, the abundance will start showing up more.
Definitely. Definitely.
Yeah.
Wow. And Martin, if our listeners want to get access to your book, how they can do that? So
it's very simple. You can go to connectwithmartin.com. Over there, I have a lot of free gifts that you can get. You could also click on the link to buy the book from Amazon. There's a link to buy the cards. And then if you scroll down, there are some free things like a deeper discussion on how to do the cycle of A's and different things that I teach in my course.
Great. So, Martin, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your journey, your wisdom and insights from Worrier to Worrier. And it's crystal clear that your work is making a huge impact on people's lives, helping them uncover their greatness and live life to the fullest, as you say. And thank you once again for coming on the show and spread the word.
Thank you, Rima. I appreciate it. It's been a pleasure being here with you.
Absolutely. And for our listeners who want to learn more about Martin's work and his book, you can check out the show notes along with this episode on your favorite podcast platform. And be sure to connect with Martin for more inspiration and tools to live incredibly full every day. Until next time, keep living mindfully and fully. This is your host signing off.